I finally played through all the Larry point-and-click adventures, and I thought that would be an amazing opportunity to showcase them here and do a top 10 because, well, those are 10 games in total. So if you are as big a fan of Larry Laffer as I am, sit back and enjoy the show. Yes, you will be hearing this song a lot today, and I'm not sorry. The second Larry game, Looking for Love in Several Wrong Places, is the weakest entry in the series in my opinion and in that of many people I talk to online. Still, I'm very glad that I played through it, and though it's not perfect, there's a lot to enjoy there as an adventure connoisseur. The main thing that I have to say about this game is that it feels unfinished. There are surprisingly few puzzles in the game and quite a lot of scenes where it feels like you should solve a puzzle, but instead it just plays out automatically. And quite a few scenes feel very drawn out, as if they try to extend the runtime of the game. The worst offender here is the jungle transition that you will see at least 3 times, and that's not skippable. It's funny the first time around, but it gets old very fast. There are also quite a few very mean puzzles and dead ends that screw you over just for the sake of it, so this game definitely gets the walkthrough highly recommended stamp. The 2 main reasons to play this game in my opinion is the humor, which is classy as always, and the interesting locations that you visit. Exploring LA, a cruise ship and an exotic island is definitely a step up above the first game. Story-wise, I would say it's a bit hit and miss, with a more complex narrative than the first game, which, well, basically had no plot at all. But the espionage elements feel pretty random and non-cohesive, and Larry basically just stumbles through the whole game. If you're a hardcore Larry fan, you should give it a try, but if you're not, you might better skip this game. The next game on my list is Larry 1, but the VGA version. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with this game, but I just felt it didn't improve much on the original game and lost a bit of its charm. The VGA graphics are nice to look at, but are a bit uneven here and there. I don't think they really add much to the experience other than having more detail obviously, but the crude charm of the original felt almost a bit more grounded. Yes, with the introduction of the point-and-click interface, you get a few improvements and simplifications of the game, but it doesn't get rid of all the unfair stuff that I'm going to talk about later. So if you want to enjoy the first Larry game, I would not recommend this particular version, and I think that's all I have to say about this game. So if you're enjoying this video so far, why not giving it a like or subscribe to the channel to see more point-and-click and retro gaming videos in the future. Now I at least wanted to talk about Larry 4 briefly, kind of as a dishonorable mention. As most of you probably know, the game was a bit of a scandal when Al Love, having full creative control over the Larry series at the time, pulled one of his biggest jokes. The main feature of this game was that you could not only play Larry and Patty again, but you could switch between the characters at any time. What was not so well received was the fact that after about 30 minutes of gameplay, Patty gets so fed up with Larry's hijinks that she refuses to help him anymore, rendering the game unplayable. What was probably one of Al's favorite jokes didn't land well with the players who paid full price for the game, and Sarah was soon overrun with refund requests. After the incident, Al was almost fired and forced to immediately start work on a sequel, and to never mention the game again. It's kind of infuriating to think about what this game could have been, but at least we got a few more games after it. So I guess both Al and we came out pretty lucky. Next we have the OG Larry game. Still a classic and still probably the game that comes first to mind to many people when they think of Larry. It does show a few signs of aging here and there, like the hairline of the protagonist, but we still love Larry for who he is. The simple premise of a night out with sometimes strange, some exciting and some humiliating experiences is very relatable. The writing is incredibly funny for most, a bit over the line for others, and definitely a product of its time. There are some nasty unwinnable situations here, so you might want to resort to a walkthrough, but the puzzles are mostly logical and not too hard. If you have any nostalgia for blocky 60 color graphics, this is also a treat. If not, stay tuned, this is not the last rendition of the first Larry game on this list. Now the next two games were a real coin toss and the hardest for me to rank. I even did a poll as a bit of a sanity check here on my channel, and the results were, well, pretty much a coin toss as well. In the end I ranked Larry 5 a bit higher because it has no dead ends or cheap death, but man, I really have a soft spot for Larry 3. And that's not nostalgia talking here because I have never played this game as a kid, it's just that this entry oozes charm from the very beginning of the game. It takes all the good parts from the first two Larry games and combines them into an epic adventure. But not one with KGB conspiracies, but finding the love of your life, passionate Patty. Arguably his most successful relationship, lasting for a whopping 3 games, and these two have some real chemistry going on between them. I also really enjoy the tropical setting clashing with modern age, at that time capitalism. It's a bizarre and entertaining backdrop for Larry's antics. What I don't enjoy as much though is how quickly you can die in this game and how easily you can screw yourself over when you miss an item that you will need later. So be warned and respect the stamp. Patty also takes a bit of a bigger role here, becoming the playable character for a good chunk of the game when she's looking for her lost lover and overcomes great dangers in order to reunite with him. Her moral standards might not be the highest, if you can even have standards hooking up with Larry, but she's competent and witty. As a final word, let's talk about the game's presentation. It's stellar. This game is a big step up over the first two games, even though it still only uses the EGA palette, but the higher resolution and detailed dither patterns make every scene feel alive. Accompanied by a timeless, soothing MT32 soundtrack, it's a joy to play, look and listen to, even today. Now I almost rated Larry 5 much lower because of a major misconception I had about the game. See, the quote-unquote main quest of the game is recording 3 girls. To do that you have to pick up a camera and 3 tapes at the beginning of the game and degauss those tapes and charge the camera. Later on there's no way to go back to the starting location, so if you missed any of this you won't be able to record. And if you fail to do so, the game will tell you that you screwed up, which made me believe that I was in an unwinnable state and quit the game. Actually, you don't have to do any of that. There's tons of optional content in this game that will reward you with a score and some text box recognition by the game, but won't screw you over when you miss it. So big step up over the older games in the series in that regard, and the first game that won't get the walkthrough recommended stamped on this list, though you might still want to use one to see everything the game has to offer. Graphically, the game also took a big leap forward, jumping to VGA, but with a much more fleshed out art style than the Larry 1 VGA remake. I really love the design in the game, from the cartoonish characters to the flamboyant backgrounds. What's especially cool in my eyes are these frames that are sometimes used when the image shown is not filling the whole screen. You get some really rad 90s pattern going on there. Now the biggest downside of the game to me is its plot. Instead of just chasing girls, we go back to a more convoluted conspiracy storyline. It's not very interesting and it only very loosely ties together Larry's and Patty's adventure. Yes, you will play Patty again, this time as a sort of a secret agent doing some detective work. I do like these episodes gameplay wise, but they never overlap with Larry's storyline, ending up feeling very disconnected. I think I'd rather had a full spin-off game with Patty as a detective protagonist than these two disjoint experiences in one game. The only other nitpick I have with the game is that there were some occasions where you have to wait for stuff to happen in real time, which can get a bit annoying. But other than that, I can fully recommend playing this game.
And if you happen to get lucky along the way, that's okay. After all, you're nearly 40.
And still untouched by human hands. Look out, ladies! I'm finding love tonight!
On the 5th place we have the Larry 1 Reloaded remaster from 2013. This might be a bit of a controversial pick as not everybody appreciated this version of the game, but I think it still holds up. Most criticism seems to come from people who didn't enjoy the original game or don't like point-and-click adventures at all. Because what we have here might be a little uneven at times, but it's exactly what I would want from a remake. The graphics are very detailed and capture the spirit of the original very well, and the voice acting is great. But not only that, the gameplay also improved quite a lot, eliminating all dead ends from the original and adding an auto reset function for the death sequences. Nostalgia aside, this is hands down the best version of the very first Larry game and one of the best Larry games of all time.
Dude, eyes up here.
I'm sorry. I was just wondering how much pressure one little plastic ring can take.
Who are you? What are you doing here? And how did you get in? This is a restricted area.
Me? I'm Larry. Larry Laffer. I found a key that fits this door. That's kind of what I do.
Burning building! What are you gonna do next?
I'm going to take a cruise.
I bet Larry 7 is the #1 Larry game for many of you, so I'm sorry to disappoint you because it's not quite that for me. And I'm not saying I'm objectively right here, but I've got a few nitpicks with the game that just keep it out of my top 3. But let's start with the positives, and one you will immediately notice is the graphics. This high quality cartoon style almost comes across as a Disney movie if it weren't for the adult material. You can clearly see the effort Sierra put into this project, a real swan song for the last of their Larry games. The game is also expertly voice acted and there are no dead ends or cheap death.
SPF 300, I have no problems at all. Every few minutes I carefully, slowly, thoroughly rub it over every single inch of my naked body. Aww. And of course my laptop computer here does offer some protection, although I do get a peculiar tan line. Aww.
The storyline is also quite straightforward. You are on board a cruise ship and trying to get laid, with the main quote-unquote goal being to conquer the captain by winning all kinds of competitions on board. A great setup for a Larry game, no notes. So why didn't I rank it higher? Well, for 3 reasons. I think it's just a little less funny than some of the other Larry games, some of the puzzles are really out there, and I don't like the interface, especially one feature of it. Humor is very subjective, so I'm not going to get more into that, but let me give you an example of the type of puzzles you have to keep up with. There's a bowling competition on board with a ball dispenser in form of a walrus. How would you get a ball from that? Use it? Push a button? No, you insert your scorecard into the walrus. And no, you don't get any hints from looking at that thing. And that's just one of quite a few examples of unintuitive interactions throughout the game. And lastly, my quibble with the interface is the option to type in your own commands. I know, many players and fans of text parser games love this feature especially, but I think it's implemented very poorly here. You learn to use it once during the tutorial and then never need it again for the whole game, except for one occasion where you have to milk the beaver. Naturally, by this point the game has taught you that this feature is completely optional and you never have to type in anything, so the last thing you will think of for this puzzle is to enter your own milk command to progress. so either the function should have been completely optional or it should have been forced more regularly so you learn what the game expects from you here. So yes, the game gets the walkthrough recommended stamp from me, not to play the whole game with it, but to keep it ready for these few frustrating roadblocks. Alright, that probably sounded almost a bit overdramatic here. These are just a few occasions throughout the course of a lengthy game. I still love the game and would recommend it to absolutely everybody.
But it's a brand new day. And today the sun is shining for one man, and one man only. Larry Laffer.
So I decided to talk about these games together because even though I like the first one just a teeny tiny bit more, I think it makes sense to start from there. These two new entries into the Larry series unfortunately have not seen wide success. They scored in the low 70s on Metacritic, and I've read the skeptical question, are they any good, so many times on the internet that I think most people never gave the games a real chance. Which I can totally relate to, as I was also very skeptical whether the humor and crude charm of the Larry series would translate into modern times, and if the new developer would be able to capture the essence of what made Larry Larry, especially since the Lord of Puns L. Lowe was not involved in the production of the game in any way. What also didn't help was that at least the first game didn't come with a demo, and people who didn't play that were probably even less interested in checking out its sequel. The final nail in the coffin was probably that the first 30 minutes of the game have the worst dialogue of the series, with an extraordinarily annoying character right at the start.
Don't you use Instacrap? I mean, you are more the farce book conspiracy theory generation, aren't you? And what's your score on Timber? I mean, you're about I don't know, maybe 50 years too old, but I heard that there are a few seniors using it.
So even if some people gave the game a chance, they probably bounced off very early. And man, that's a shame, as these games have so much to offer. The story starts out pretty straightforward. Larry returns to Lefty's bar from the first game with amnesia, and he's been teleported to the present right from his glory days in the 80s. A pretty clever premise, as it allows for a lot of commentary on how times and humor have changed, so Larry is still allowed to be as horny and sexist as in the original games, but we get additional context and a tiny bit of character growth, making the game less offensive while keeping a certain edge to its writing. As the plot continues, we get involved in a pretty engaging conspiracy. This time around though, the more involved story doesn't take away from Larry's pursuits, and we still get a lot of awkward flirting, rejection and humiliation. So basically it's the best of both worlds and works great for the game. Presentation-wise, the game is competently made. Great voice acting, nice music and a pleasant cartoon art style. It's not my favorite look and design in the series, but it has some very pretty backdrops with a lot of visual variety and the colors really pop. Now the main reason why I rank these games so highly is the puzzle design. In my opinion, it's some of the best in the whole genre. That being said, it might take a while until it clicks with you, at least that's what happened to me. But it's very unique and rewarding once you get the hang of it. You collect a metric ton of items during the adventure and have tons of locations and characters available to you. At first this feels pretty overwhelming, and if you're used to solving puzzles by thinking everything through in advance, you will get a headache. But the game has this nice flow where you just wander around and stumble upon tasks and puzzles more and less randomly, which fits the Larry character perfectly. You never have to resort to trial and error though, because it always makes sense when a new opportunity presents itself and you immediately get reminded of a certain item you're carrying around or a character you could talk to about it. It's a very addicting experience, because you always have several goals in mind. You think, let me just do this one more thing before I pause the game, and suddenly you've spent another hour going down a rabbit hole. This can go on for quite a while, as these games are not short, at least not by adventure standards. The game is also pretty cleverly structured, with different apps you load on your phone that will be helpful in your adventure. In the second game, for example, you get a crafting app where you can collect blueprints that require certain items to complete. This is just a different UI for a combination puzzle, but it makes it almost feel like its very own mechanic. Speaking of the second game, how does it compare to the first one? I really like the exotic island location that gives me Larry 3 vibes, making this a very cozy experience. It's a welcome change from the City of Lost Wages from the first game. The plot is a more or less logical continuation of the first game, but it doesn't add too many interesting new elements to it besides a new villain that I didn't care much for. It's completely okay, albeit a little uninspired. What I do miss more is the hookup gameplay of the first game. Yes, there are still women on the island that you try to convince against their better judgment, but the Tinder profile hunt from the first game was more engaging to me. It is the longer and more ambitious game of the two though, so you'll have plenty to enjoy here. As I said, it's very close, and I'd believe the preference between the two games would probably be split evenly down the middle. So don't let your doubts keep you from playing these absolute gems in the Larry series. You're seriously missing out.
It's just a phase. I think all of us go through it. It'll pass.
But I'm just curious.
What is it about men that you're so interested in? They're useless.
I've never seen one naked.
Yes, you have.
I mean, not all charred and wrinkled.
You'd be better off focusing on your job. Otherwise, the queen's gonna be so angry again.
Yeah, you're right.
And don't forget to update the scrum board after your shift.
I won't. See you later.
To absolutely nobody's surprise at this point, Larry 6 is my number one pick of the series. In my opinion, the quintessential Larry adventure. It got rid of all the failings of the previous games but kept everything that made its predecessors so endearing. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but instead focuses on what made those games great in the first place. Funny writing, motivating puzzle design and a whole lot of Fremdschämen, the German word for feeling embarrassed on someone else's behalf. The only nitpick I can find with the game is how they got rid of Patty, who doesn't play any role in it. But with a cast of, let's say, extremely interesting women waiting for Larry at the hotel and spa La Costa Lotta, you forget about her pretty quickly. The plot drops the conspiracies from the prior game and keeps it simple. Larry wins a free stay at a luxury hotel during a TV show, populated by beautiful women, and that's where the story ends.
Would you say your name was, cowboy? Larry something?
Laugher.
Laughter, huh? My name's Burgundy.
The real star of the show though is the hotel itself. Every time I play the game, it's like coming back to my favorite vacation spot. The game is available in two versions, a floppy version with VGA graphics and a CD version with high-res SVGA and voiceover. High-resolution pixel art is pretty rare in games and it looks just great here. It's lively and colorful, immersing you in this heavenly place. And after playing, I always find myself humming the soothing music from the hotel lobby. It's the full package. The puzzles are also some of the best in the series. They are surprisingly clever and logical for an LO game while still posing a decent challenge. The amount of items and locations is well balanced and it's great fun to figure out what the girls want from you and how you can satisfy their demands. When I want to reacquaint myself with one of my favorite Sierra characters, this is the game I always go back to. Each time I wonder if it still holds up, only to be relieved after the playthrough by how much fun it is still to play. So no wonder that if you want to get into the series, I recommend starting with this game. You can't do any better. Unless maybe Larry Explores Uranus makes a surprise appearance at this year's Video Game Awards, with LO hitting the stage with a saxophone in hand. But until then, thanks for watching and see ya!